Yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody to the title of this Zoom call is How to Network a Zoom Call. And I tell you, the past 2 to 3 weeks, Tiffanie has spent all day, every day on Zoom calls. And for those of you who don't know Tiffanie, she entered the entrepreneurial world in 2003. And since then, her focus has been on helping clients make money, save time, and have a lot of fun in the process. She's also spent her time traveling across the globe, helping thousands of entrepreneurs create amazing businesses and having a spectacular life through her various keynote presentations, workshops, online programs, and more. In fact, if you haven't taken any of her online programs, I'd highly recommend it. Whether she's sharing her expertise with her Southern accent on networking, referral marketing, or maximizing your time, Tiffanie will knock your socks off, one of her book titles. With her entertaining presentations while she shares epiphanies, which are epiphanies from Tiffanie. And she's here to help us create results today, again, with how do we network a Zoom call? How do we network a Zoom call? And I think she's going to share that a lot of our face-to-face networking principles may be applicable to online networking. Miss Tiffanie, do you want to kick us off, or do you want? I've got a whole list of questions I'm excited about asking you. You can kick us off, or I can dive into some questions, whichever you prefer.
Well, I thought I'd share the premise of this conversation because my focus has typically been on that word of mouth marketing, getting out there, meeting people, networking, talking face to face. It was interesting. Somebody the other day was like, we're not really social distancing, we're physical distancing. And I'm like, yep, that's true too, where we do have the opportunity to be social. But we're not near people. And so networking events are not happening in person. But we are having a lot of them happening online. I went to a coffee a couple of weeks ago online. My husband and I hosted a Brewing Up Business networking event online. We had a party yesterday online. There's all kinds of online networking opportunities going on. And I think people are attending those, but they're not really working the networking event.
Interesting. So how do we make the most of these Zoom calls, these online networking opportunities?
Well, one of the networking nuggets we talk about in the 4.5 networking mistakes is setting a goal before you go to an event. And I definitely think that we have the opportunity to set a goal before we go on to a Zoom call. Or I like to call them Zalls to just make it easier. So before you go on your Zall or your Zoom call, setting a goal of what you're looking to create, who you're looking to meet or connect with. What I'm typically looking for is people that could potentially be a good referral source for me, number one. So I'm looking for those like-minded professions that have similar target markets to me, though they're not competitors. Those are big on my radar right now to be able to develop some of those relationships with. So I'm on the lookout for them, number one. And if I happen to come across number two, a prospect, then that's a good thing to find as well. But my main focus on these calls is, okay, how many people can I find that have that synergy that potentially we could be great referral sources for each other?
Okay. I got it. And, a lot of times I'm on these calls and I'm meeting brand new people for the first time, and I'm pretty good putting faces to names, recognizing people, so on and so forth. But there's this whole concept of taking screenshots of attendees, and I'm a little tech-tarded, as you know. How do we take screenshots of attendees, and what do we do with them?
Gotcha. So on my computer, at least, if I hit the little Windows button and the print screen button at the same time, then it will screenshot for me. I do have a laptop, and it is not an Apple apparently, because it's got the Windows button. So what I would recommend is whatever computer you have, Google whatever your computer is and how to screenshot. Or you can always I'm like, where's my phone at? You can always take a picture of the screen if you wanted to. That's kind of the old-fashioned way to do it. Or one of the things that I like to do, and this doesn't work for every event, but some events you can actually get from whomever's hosting it, a list of the participants that are going to be on it. So the Working Women of Tampa Bay Coffee I was on a couple of weeks ago, I was actually able to, because on their website they show who's going to be at the event. So I was able to print out a list of everyone's there. And then as they're introducing themselves and sharing things, I was actually able to print it out. Now, not every group does that. And so then sometimes that's when you can do the screenshot. So I have all the names of the people that are there.
Wow.
And hopefully their faces. Some people aren't doing the videos, and I understand if you're driving, you don't want to do the video because that's distracting. If you're laying in bed, I do breakfast with Tiffany once or twice a month, and I don't even do that from bed. Now I do it in my pajamas, but I'm not in my bed. So I don't recommend, doing Zoom calls while you're lying in bed. But we do like to see your face. I think if we see you interacting, it definitely helps with that visibility and hopefully wanting us to connect with you. If for whatever reason you can't be on the camera, you can go into your profile settings and put your headshot in there, and then at least we see your face instead of just your name.
Yeah, I've been on a lot of these Zoom calls with Tiffany, and some of them are early in the morning, and haven't quite showered up yet, and she makes me feel guilty for not being on camera. So if you're on with Tiffany, you better make sure you're fresh as a daisy and ready to be on camera.
I'll stop setting such early calls.
Fair enough. So back to the screenshot thing.
Yeah.
So when I press my Windows button and I press the print screen, where does that
so on
my desktop? How do I access that screenshot?
So on my computer, it will save it to your pictures folder. So if you go under your PC, again, this is PC, sorry, Mac users. If you go under your PC and there's one of the folders gives you pictures. And so it's usually under pictures in a subfolder called screenshots.
Got it. Now, as I've been on some of these events, there are people that I've never met before that I'm excited to learn more about, but I don't really know how to connect with them offline. I do know that there's this whole concept of private messaging. Do you do that in the chat bar? What's that all about?
So in the chat box, and so for those of you that are watching, because if you have any questions, you can put your questions in the chat box. So if you scroll on so this does need to be on a computer. I'm not sure about on a phone. If you scroll down at the bottom, it should pull up a bar, mute, stop video.
Look at that. There it is. Look at that.
Then there's one box that says chat. It looks like somebody's talking box from like a comic strip. So you can click on that box, and then it will pull up a Zoom webinar chat. This could be a freestanding box, or it could be a panel to your right-hand side, depending on which you're looking at. Oh, we've got a Mac user that says Command Shift and 3 for that. It's cool. So if you pull up your chat box, then where it says to, you can go down and see the person's name. So usually it's going to be the host or everyone if you're on a Zoom call or a meeting. This is actually a webinar, so you can't send it to everyone on the webinar, but you could send it to the panelists. So right now, Tom, if I wanted to send you a private message, I just click on your name, and it usually says in red privately, and then it pops up on yours. I just said hi to Tom, so you can see. Did it come through, Tom?
It did.
Okay. And so if I meet somebody or somebody was talking and I loved what they had to say, I would be like, oh, I might message, I so am excited that I met you here at this event. I would love for us to connect off this call. And then I could share my phone number or my email address or my social media so that we could get connected and talk outside of the event. To me, the private messaging is kind of taking place of that one-to-one business card exchange that we would do face-to-face. Because the last thing you want to do, especially if there's 20, 30, 40, 50 people in an event, is be like, oh, wait, I want to talk to you. Because then by the time you figure out who said what, then it's just all a mess.
I got it.
Like when I go to a networking event, I'm usually like, if I hear somebody say something that's interesting me and I don't know I'm writing down their name, what they're wearing, why I wanted to connect with them. So when we break and we can go talk to everybody, I can make my way to them. The private message just makes it really easy for us to do right here online.
Okay. Awesome.
And what is really cool is you can save the chat. So there's two ways you can save the chat. On a group call, you can save a chat by going where the to and the person's name is. You click on those three little buttons there to the right-hand side, and it will bring up a couple other options, and one of them is save chat.
Wow.
Oh,
okay.
And I just found out a new function. Okay, so all panelists and attendees, I just turned that on. Haha. Look, I'm learning as I'm going. Sorry. So if you right click on those three dots beside the to and to whom it's to, there's an option to save the chat if you're doing a group meeting. Now, a group webinar, you can't necessarily. Or if you want to be old fashioned and not do the technology, you can just copy and paste and dump it into a Word document.
Okay.
It does on my computer, at least when I do the save chat, it just pops up in a folder after the call is done. So I don't even have to go find it. It usually just pops up in the folder for me after it's done.
Very cool. Very cool.
And for those of you that are hosting webinars, that are hosting group meetings, I actually have on my settings for my entire account to save every chat for all of the events that I do. That way it's there and I don't have to think about it.
Oh.
And I'm kind of like, I like the don't think about it thing. So like I actually have my room set up to record as soon as I get on because I've forgotten to record more than once, which isn't good when you want the recording. So I just set it to record automatically and then I don't have to worry about it.
But by the way, with an online networking event, if you're drinking a cup of coffee, is that socially acceptable or unacceptable?
I think it's socially acceptable, but whoever has the best cup wins.
Okay, there you go. You win. You win.
Though, like, I think really all of my cups are pretty cute. I don't drink coffee much. I drink tea, and today I'm actually drinking water out of a coffee cup. I don't know why. That's just what I'm bored with drinking water. I've been home too much and drinking just straight water, and I'm having a hard time keeping track. So today I'm tracking in milliliters instead of ounces to hopefully keep track and drinking out of a coffee mug instead. I don't know. The things that social distancing drives you to do.
Wow. So I see someone on an online networking event that I want to connect with.
Yes.
And I may reach out to them via Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram. What's the purpose of me reaching out? Hi, I saw you at the networking event. I mean, what's my goal? What's my intention?
Yeah, so let's say I see somebody at a networking event and I think that they seem like a pretty cool person, or there could be some good synergy, or I just want to get to know them better. I might go to LinkedIn and try and find them. And this is where the screenshot or the chat box could help, because you've got their name and you've got their information, or you at least know what they look like, hopefully. And so I will send the request. Now, I won't just send the request blank. I think it's very recommended. Hey, it was great seeing you at Brewing Up Business yesterday. I would love to connect with you here via LinkedIn so we can potentially get to know each other better. Now, that doesn't mean that when they connect with you that you start spamming them and, hey, do you want to buy from me, and selling and all of that. That's weird. But it does give me the opportunity to connect with them. And to me, when I go networking, because networking nugget number 19 from the 4.5 networking mistakes is connect online with the people that you meet offline. So we're just editing that a little bit. I think if we're able to connect with each other on social media, whichever might be your flavor, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, any of those. Instagram's really popular now. It just gives us an opportunity to continue to build that visibility and credibility. And we may learn a lot about each other. When I'm looking at your LinkedIn profile, I may learn more about your business, who you've recently helped, the things that you offer in your company. And I may also learn some personal stuff as well that can create that connection. And so it's just giving me an opportunity to learn more about you online.
Awesome. So it's funny, whether it's face-to-face networking or online networking, the key is still follow up. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that because I've seen a lot of these chats going on, and afterwards I ask people, what did you create out of it? And they're like, huh? And I'm like, well, what are you doing? What's your intention? What was your purpose? And they're like, well, it was a coffee. So I just got together. And I mean, that can certainly be the thing that happens when you go networking. Hey, I'm at a networking event. We just get together. But to me, we want to create that intention. It goes back to that set a goal. What do we want to create from this event? Whether it's finding the prospects, finding the referral sources, maybe it's finding somebody to interview for a YouTube or a Zoom, a podcast. I mean, there's so many different options and opportunities on what could we be doing.
So to me, ultimately, the follow-up, the introductory follow-up is still a precursor to a one-to-one.
Yes.
Which could take the form of a phone call, or it could take the form of a Zoom meeting. Zoom has free accounts for people that you can sign on for. And I know there's a couple of restrictions. Are you familiar with those? Because I would encourage everybody to get a free Zoom account.
Yes, I think you should all get a free Zoom account. With the Zoom, it is free for, I believe that one of the restrictions is you can talk for 40 minutes with up to 3 people before it prompts you to get a purchased account. And they'll let you get away with once or twice actually going over. I'm not sure how many people, if 2 people would be, I'm not sure if 2 people would have that same 40-minute time limit. But we do recommend that oftentimes that first meeting could just be a nice little get together, learning about each other. So it could be the first meeting's 15, 20 minutes just to see if it's a good conversation and we want to continue. And then when you say, let's book that next one-to-one where, hey, let's spend 30 minutes a piece, teach each other about our business. Then it's, okay, we're going to talk for 30 minutes and then let's hang up and then we'll come right back. So if you wanted to get around it that way, you certainly could. I am a huge fan of doing them via Zoom or Skype or FaceTime, whatever it may be, much, much more so than on the phone. And it was interesting. I was talking to a client earlier this week and she shared, I was trying to do a phone one-to-one and after 15 minutes, it was just kind of stagnant.
Got it.
And really we want to have that interaction. And it's funny because somebody said, why are you on side view? So Tom has dual monitors. And so the monitor with all of his stuff and my video is coming through is the one he's looking at versus the one, if he looks at the camera, look at the camera and say, hi, Tom. If he looks at the camera, then you have that face-to-face. So it is kind of funny sometimes. I typically like to look at the person I'm speaking to. And over the past couple weeks, I mean, I've been doing Zoom for, I think it's 2.5 years now. I've had an account with them. However, I'm really learning these past couple weeks at looking at the camera. So I'm missing, I mean, I will look a little bit at the people down here, but I'm really trying to look at the camera to have that engagement. And so it is weird when you're doing a one-to-one to like look at the camera some when you're talking. So I oftentimes will try and look at the camera when I'm talking. So it feels like I'm speaking right to them. And then when they're speaking, I'll go ahead and just look at their picture.
So I obviously have some learning to do here myself. But by the way, Tiffanie, I mean, even to get a paid for Zoom account is like, what, $15 a month? And I mean, it's extraordinary what this platform is capable of for your relationship building, for your networking. And I mean, for those of you who run a business with staff, people are working remotely, just amazing opportunity to connect with those people.
Yeah, it was interesting. I just talked to my husband, Rob, and he was like, I just got off my first Zoom call with mom. I'm like, what? Seriously? He's like, well, she wanted to FaceTime me, but my mother-in-law's phone doesn't FaceTime, nor does my husband. So he's like, well, we could try Zoom. So they had their first Zoom because a lot of times people are missing each other and seeing them. And what a great way for us to all come together. There was a gentleman that had a pool party on Saturday and everybody was hanging out, you know, in their pool in the garage, the tailgate. I went to my first gender reveal party on Saturday as well. 2 different parties. Yeah, I know. I'm not a big baby person. So like to me, it was perfect because it was like 30, 35 minutes. They played a couple games, but it wasn't like an all day drawn out thing. And you can have your beer there with you. And we just, you know, there's so much that people are doing on Zoom that it makes just amazing opportunity. So whether it's the freebie or pay, yeah, I want to say 10, 15 bucks a month for the basic is awesome.
Cool. And let's go back to those one-to-ones. I mean, can we still use the gains profile?
I think we can definitely still use the gains profile. I think we can share our emotionally charged connection here in the one-to-one on Zoom. We can share success stories. And here's the thing that we probably wouldn't have done in a one-to-one if we were face-to-face. But if I know I'm coming to the one-to-one and I want to share with you a couple of success stories of what I've recently created, I could actually play the videos. Or let's say I have,
How do you do that?
Oh gosh. Okay. So this may be beyond. Okay. So what you do is there's a button. So if you go back down to that area where I showed you before, you should see a button that says share screen.
Yes.
And so if you click on that, then you'll actually see the different things that you can share a screen from.
Okay. Wow.
And then you would just click on, so I would have like the video, if I was going to do videos, I'd either have them up on my YouTube channel or I would have them up open, but not playing. And then that way I could share the screen and I just click it.
So you could share documents on your screen. You could share PowerPoints on your screen. You could share your gains profile on your screen. You could share, I'm thinking of advanced trainings where we talk about, having your contact spheres and your target market and your things to look for, listen for, conversation starters. I mean, you could take every principle that we teach in the advanced trainings, whether it's referrals, featured presentations, weekly presentations, power teams, and incorporate those right online. In fact, I'm working with a chapter right now, and their power teams have not missed a beat. They're using their chapter's Zoom account to hold their power team meetings. Super cool.
Are you seeing the whiteboard? Is that popped up for you?
It's perfect. It's wonderful.
And
yeah.
so you can actually do brainstorming right then and there and having that list. I just learned about the whiteboard yesterday. I'm super excited. I will be using that for Ignite Your Business on Friday. We're doing that online now. So I'm excited about sharing that. So, I mean, there's so many tools. Yeah. So we can do all kinds of really cool, fun things in our one-to-ones that not that we couldn't have done before, but we might not have thought of doing them before.
I don't know whether I was on the GoToWebinar platform or the Zoom platform, but there's a draw function as well. And I remember I was drawing the human motivational model for a couple of people I was speaking with. And that was a very cool way to communicate. Oh, there you go. Yeah. Wow, excellent. Yeah, perfect. So
I don't know that I'd say perfect on that, but I'll give it a heart.
Yeah.
Oh, that is so cool. I didn't know I could do that.
So you can, I think part of this is you can really let your personality show through in the relationship building process, whether we're face-to-face or whether we're on Zoom or other webinar-based platforms. Tiffanie, I know we were going till 12:30 here. Believe it or not, I've actually run out of questions here. I don't know if we want to open it up for a question or maybe an insight or two from a few people that are with us.
Yeah, so if you guys, I shared where the chat box is earlier, but if you scroll down across the bottom, you should see chat, and you can go in there. Marvin said, awesome beard. You can go in there and put any questions if you have any questions for Tom and or I about using these Zoom calls. One thing I do want to share while you're putting your questions in, because you shared, Tom, about creating your personality. Virtual backgrounds are a big thing. And I kind of set up my background to do, I've got this all set up for me. However, if you wanted to, because like I've got the plain background, that's the microphone. I've got the plain background over there. And so if I want to create the virtual background, all you have to do is go under the video. There's an arrow and you can choose a virtual background.
Nice.
Now, again, I'm not on it, and it doesn't really work because I've got the books behind me, so it looks really weird. But if you have a blank space behind you, it doesn't have to be a green screen. It doesn't have to be blank. It just needs to be a single solid color. All right. So what about webinar on Zoom? What about webinar on Zoom? Can you expand on that? I'm actually using webinar on Zoom right now. One of the differences between the webinar on Zoom and the meeting on Zoom is the meeting, everybody gets on camera, everybody is there to speak. With the webinar, I have the potential to name panelists, so only some people are speaking. Now, I could promote anybody that's here on the group to being a panelist, or I could unmute them and let them talk. But to me, the webinar gives you the opportunity to have conversations without everybody kicking in. I'm not sure if that's what you were asking, Brad, or not. Okay, thank you. So apparently that works. It's one of those things. I think I've been using Zoom for a couple of years, but I've learned probably more in the past 3 weeks or however long we've been here than I have over the past couple of years. And it's trial by fire, I guess. However, we're all still learning it. Nobody's an expert on it. And so I think that right now there's a huge opportunity for us to do this without having to be perfect. All right, I use my Zoom account for my church's youth weekly meeting, and they let churches and school groups. Okay, so they let churches and school groups go over the 40-minute limit. Cool.
Interesting. Yeah, very good.
I think Zoom is being very, it's one of those things. I wonder, and I don't think they're ever going to say this, but I wonder if Publix and Charmin and Zoom are going to look back at, man, that pandemic of 2020 did some really good business for us. I mean, I don't think they're going to, because it's a sad time, but their business is booming. Things are going so well for them, and I think they're trying to do as much as they can to help everybody out. And I mean, there's other alternatives to Zoom. There's GoToMeeting, there's Skype. I chose Zoom as my platform a couple of years ago, and so I'm glad this is what everybody's going to, because it's super easy to use, and I already know how to use it, kind of.
Yeah, once you get an account and you click on that settings button, I was amazed at the flexibility and all of the options that you can set up for your personal account.
Yes. So Kevin said that the pro version is only $15 per month or $149 for the year.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's so much stuff that you can do on it. I think we will get back to traditional networking. However, I think it's not going to be exactly the same, and I think we're going to continue to see some virtual networking as well.
Can I wrap this up with a quick thought, and then I'll let you close us out, Tiffany? What I learned today and what I became conscious of is the fact that online networking isn't so different from face-to-face networking. Many of the principles that we have used over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years in building relationships, generating referrals, are completely applicable to the networking forums that we're now forced to use given the situation the world is in. And I'll turn it back over to Tiffany, but before I do, for those of you who are with us, I just want to wish you safety, health, and prosperity during this time. Tiffany?
Yeah, so I want to wrap us up with part of the reason we're doing so many of these interviews, and this is one of many in the series, and they're all going to be up on YouTube, and you can find them on my Facebook events page of the one coming up, is because I think we have a huge opportunity right now to be ramping up. A lot of people are kind of taking this as, I'm going to take some vacation, and here, spend time with your kids, do the things that are important to you, and also it's time for us to be working on our network, because what happens is when they say, okay, now we're back to normal, you can go out and see people, if you start ramping up, then it's going to take a while for the referrals to flow in. My goal is that we spend this time ramping up so that when they finally let us loose and we get to go back to whatever our new normal is, we are ready to go and the referrals flow.
Because networking is more about farming than it is about hunting. And if we think about the concept of farming, this right now is the time to plant seeds. Those people who are planting seeds right now will harvest sooner than those that are sitting back.
Yeah. And I mean, you can network or you can Netflix. Which one's going to get you better results?
Got it.
All right.
Thank you all for joining us. And